Horror films are truly enjoying a renaissance. They're even getting nominated for major awards. What a time to be a horror fan. And even us casuals are getting pulled back in to the genre. And excitingly, it looks like that renaissance is going to continue into 2025, starting with Companion. This film was not on my radar, but it has been on the radar of some who always cover the horror genre. I think it premiered at like some kind of festival a couple of months ago and started to get a little bit of heat. But I only heard about it a few weeks ago when the trailer first came out, and I was like, this looks amazing. So I wrote Warner Brothers and said, I would like to see this. And so I got to see a screening, and I'm delighted at how good it is. Now, Drew Hancock, a relative unknown, is making his film debut as a writer-director. And a lot of attention has been given to Zach Cregger, hot off Barbarian, who here is a producer. That's Barbarian, name-checked on the poster. But the name you should really be paying attention to, because we wear our business hats here, is Mr. Roy Lee, who has had a long career in Hollywood. He started out adapting Asian content for Hollywood, bringing big hits over in Asia to Hollywood, and a lot of them were then big hits here. And he's also been a producer on some other things, some very big things. But how he really made himself a mega producer was the It franchise. Big deal, very big deal. And he has quite the eye for horror. He produced Barbarian. He's producing Cregger's follow-up, Weapons. And just last year, he produced Late Night with the Devil and the exceptional Strange Darling. Great movies. And he's also behind Companion. Learn to read the credits, especially if you want to work in the biz. You got to know who's making what, and see the trends, because everybody has their the space that they work in primarily. And so if you want to produce a horror movie or any type of movie, pay attention to the credits of the type of movie that you want to make. All right, so I would describe Companion as Megan meets the girlfriend experience, but it's not saucy. We'll talk about that at the end when I discuss the rating. And also Scream. What a combo, with some very nice nods to Terminator sprinkled on top. I can't say what they are because that would spoil them, but I thought they were absolutely brilliant. I was like, oh, Drew Hancock, you have a future. Well, we'll see how this does box office wise, but creatively, he's on fire. All right, so let's be honest. If anyone was going to build a female robot, some of the Terminator movies and shows have been like, here's a female Terminator. But in real life, a female robot would be used to be, a companion, right? In fact, we don't even have to have a hypothetical, because this very year, 2025, is already so bizarre. But an impressive prototype of a companion was introduced at CES this year that moves around on a Roomba. I can't believe it. Here comes your robot girlfriend on a Roomba. It's oh boy. All right, so it's like, how do we process this? Go see Companion. So Companion takes place in the very near future, but make no mistake, it's the future, but it's close, where you don't drive your own car, and the loneliness epidemic has been cured by one simple purchase or rental if you don't have the money. And Companion does a brilliant job exploring the idealistic version of this experience or arrangement, but also the more realistic version. I thought that was very interesting. I could definitely maybe see a sequel for this. I thought it was very, very good. The movie is extremely well thought out. I mean, Drew Hancock has figured out all the angles of this scenario, and also a very inventive way to use your companion robot. I was like, amazing. But wait, if you go in already knowing that she's a companion robot, as the trailer revealed, wasn't me, it was the trailer, is the movie already ruined? It is not, I am pleased to announce. That's revealed at the end of the first act. You're like, oh man, you ruined the first act, Grace. But knowing that going in, well, first of all, they had to make sure you saw the movie. If they didn't reveal that in the trailer, this thing would tank. So you gotta sell it too. You gotta sell it. But I think that makes you more of an active participant in the first act. You pick up on things you maybe otherwise wouldn't. And I think, otherwise for the first third of the movie, it just seems like your standard rom-com. And, who wants to sit through that? You got to have the promise of a very different movie around the corner. I mean, I like a good rom-com too, but, this is, in my opinion, much better. There are a ton of twists and turns throughout the movie. It's just a cascade of them. Just twist and turn and twist and turn and twist and turn. Now, to be fair, some of them I saw coming pretty easily because I watch a lot of movies. I know the genre. So I was like, oh, I see what's coming. And it was delightful when it happened. I was like, oh. Now, some of them I had just a feeling about. I was like, something's weird there. And I was right. But then some of them delightfully surprised me. So I'll be curious, by the way, no spoilers if you've managed to see the movie, which ones you guess and which ones surprise you. The movie is hilarious and fun, but I would also say very, very smart, extremely smart, which makes it a real treat to watch. You're like, wow, you really thought this out, Drew Hancock. It's not, so many movies are like a good first act and a good setup, a good pitch, and then they don't know how to end their movie. This movie knows how to end it. Very, very well written. And I think it should have broad appeal. I hope so, as it explores the dynamics of relationships. The studio is considering releasing it for Valentine's Day, and I loved the movie so much, I called a friend of mine when I got out of the screening, but I didn't ruin it for them. And they were like, too bad it didn't come out for Valentine's Day. And I was like, I think it would ruin a lot of relationships. I don't know if it should come out. You can rent it probably for Valentine's Day, right? Oh, that's pretty clever, actually. That's like they did with Beetlejuice. It was in theaters a little bit early, hit digital just in time for Halloween. Oh, also Warner Brothers. Very clever. Get out ahead of the holiday. And, everybody's already putting their Valentine's Day stuff out. By January 31st, my Valentine's Day stuff will be out. All right, so I think it explores the dynamics of relationships. And some of you might be like, does this make guys look bad? Well, a little. But I mean, the original Scream kind of did, and nobody has a problem with that. I mean, it's just so well done. I mean, you just can't get upset with it. And I don't think anybody should be offended by it. I mean, it was great. I really, really liked it. Hoping to get good word of mouth, you can see that Warner Brothers is lifting the review embargo for this movie ridiculously early. It comes out next Friday, January 31st in IMAX. Now, I can't believe I'm saying this, but don't go see this in IMAX. Because would you see Scream in IMAX? I think a premium screen, especially an IMAX screen, would be distracting. It's a very well-shot, beautiful, film. It has great visuals, but it doesn't require that size screen. I don't know why they're putting in IMAX. Maybe to give it a little cachet. I can understand why they would do that. Like Presence this weekend is opening just in Dolby. This could be okay in Dolby, but you could see this on any size screen. It's great. You might be like, a phone screen? Well, here's the thing. I don't want anyone to spoil it for you. Yeah, you could watch it on any size screen. You could watch it on a phone and you would be like, fantastic. But I think by then, with the way things are today, I mean, you're not, unless you don't go on social media at all, which I find hard to believe, even just talking to somebody, someone's going to blurt out something in this movie because it's clever. It's fun. It's very, very well thought out. And people are going to want to talk about how clever it is. And you're going to be like, oh, news! The experience has been ruined. So that's one of the main reasons I would recommend that you go check it out in the theater. Besides the fact that it's fun to go to a movie theater, especially since they're stepping up their game these days. And if you have AMC A-List like I do, or some kind of subscription program, it doesn't cost you anything extra to go to this movie. And it's a really good movie. So get yourself a popcorn and a fizzy soda and have fun. All right, so because I don't want to spoil the movie for you, I can't talk anymore about the plot and stuff like that. But I can talk about the cast, and what a cast. Sophie Thatcher. Now, those of us who watched Yellow Jackets know two things. One, season 2 sucked. I mean, it started out okay, but they didn't know how to end that story. Or, they haven't ended it yet, but oh boy, are they lost in the woods with the writing. And then 2, that the cast is amazing. Christina Ricci, so good on that show. It's a shame that the writing has gotten so bad considering how good the cast is. Ella Purnell, really, her spot blew up from this show. Jasmine Savoy Brown. A lot of talented actresses, but Sophie Thatcher is part of that group. Now, she plays the younger Juliette Lewis and has a very similar vibe, very good casting there. And she, as I said, she's fantastic on that show. And it was so exciting to see her get Heretic, where she's also very good, but she had a smaller part there. So it's very exciting to see her here in such a good movie as the lead. And she just does such a fantastic job. But, it's interesting. At first, I wasn't totally sold on her as a companion robot because she has a very real look as opposed to a plastic look. Like, think about how Summer Glau was so well cast in the Sarah Connor Chronicles as a Terminator. Oh, what a show that was. They knew what they were. That was a great show. If you like Sarah Connor Chronicles, you can see where I am in the sci-fi genre. You would really like Companion. So like for the first 20 minutes of this movie, like the first, until things really got going and it, kind of switched to like what it became and Sophie Thatcher's role really opened up. I was like, did Samara Weaving miss out on a great opportunity? Maybe she would have been better cast. But, when you think about it, you can imagine a real model being offered because you don't want everyone knowing that you have a robot girlfriend. So, Sophie Thatcher seems very human. Thatcher also has an incredibly strong personality, especially if you're familiar with her work. It's like Juliette Lewis. You'd be like, why'd you program this robot to be so quirky and have such a strong personality? Like, it makes it hard to believe that she would be so innocently fawning all over Jack Quaid. She's like, I hope your friends like me. And you're like, what have you done to Sophie Thatcher? But once again, as I said, the movie really gets going and it gets right into Sophie Thatcher's wheelhouse. She's incredible. I want only good things for Sophie Thatcher. I love her as an actress. She's close to the Scream Queen crown. Some of you feel she already wears it, but I feel this really, bobby pins it to her head. But not only does Thatcher do a great job in the role, but I think she does something that's very difficult, and that's another great reason to cast her. And that's that she makes the character of Iris likable and relatable to women, even though companion robots are meant to replace women. So the fact that Sophie Thatcher manages to make her likable and you find yourself as a woman rooting for her, I think is a very impressive feat as an actress. But yet still at the same time, I think, we'll see how guys react and what the turnout is, still checking all the boxes that, the male audience would want in an actress playing the companion robot. So I thought she was fantastic. Jack Quaid. Wow. Like father, like son. Dennis Quaid is coming off of a incredibly sleazy performance in The Substance, which he just knocks out of the park. Demi Moore and Margaret Qualley are getting a lot of attention for their work in that movie, and I don't know why Dennis Quaid isn't getting at least some attention as well. And here's his son, Jack Quaid, equally willing to sleaze it up. I mean, it's a great character that he's playing, and Quaid is willing to go as far as writer-director Hancock needs him to, which is really far. I was like, wow, I think there's nothing Jack Quaid won't do. I mean, we already kind of knew that from The Boys. But it's interesting to me that of all the great talent in The Boys, he's the one who's doing the best. Maybe it's because he maybe has his family connections or something like that. But I'm like, Carl Urban and Anthony Starr are starting to get more work. But and I like Jack Quaid, but it's interesting to me that he has the most coming up right now. Harvey Guillen and Lukas Gage are also in the movie as a gay couple on this weekend retreat as well. Guillen is from What We Do in the Shadows, and Gage, he's not only from The White Lotus, but he's the actor from that infamous audition tape where that director was insulting his apartment and didn't realize that he wasn't on mute because he was auditioning from home during the pandemic. That was, it ended up actually really helping Lukas Gage's career. They both do a fantastic job here. They're both very funny. Some of their scenes have real heart, but also real terror. They get to participate in all the fun, and they are a big part of the movie. Megan Surrey is also in the film as a real live woman who resents, understandably, having to pretend to be friends with a robot, which is part of a group meant to replace her, right? And other women like her. So she does a great job. I can't give you too many details about their roles. And then, yes, that's Rupert Friend under there. That's hilarious. He's playing a rich, shady, older Russian who owns the house that they're staying in for the weekend. He was so good. If you liked Megan and or liked Scream, and why wouldn't you like those two movies? They're fantastic. But then you will like this movie as well. It is, as I said, extremely well written and executed, and a really great low-budget horror film that's wildly original and inventive, and I feel really delivers. Sure, as I said, you could catch it down the line on digital or maybe even streaming. But then I think some of the twists, particularly the big ones, will be ruined for you, which would be a real shame. Now let's talk about that rating. The movie is rated R, but mostly for violence and gore. Even though it's a movie about a companion robot, I would say in that regard, it remains PG-13. Right on the edge of PG-13. I mean, you do see a pretty amazing shot of, let's just say, I don't want to give anything away, Quaid in a compromising position, but it was very funny and very well done. Also very effective. But everything else is either discussed or takes place off screen and you only hear it for a little bit. And there's no nudity. Now, some of you might be like, what? In a movie about a companion robot? But again, put on your business hat. And I think that's the right choice for this movie to optimize its chances at the box office and have as broad an audience as possible. And it doesn't cheat on that, though. I think it still represents that aspect of the story. I really thought it was great. But some of you might be like, I guess if women think it's great, maybe. But, then go watch, what the content to watch if that's what you're looking for. This is a great story. And I think it really is just really well thought out. If someone said they wanted to make a movie about a companion robot, of course, I think a lot of us, particularly women, would roll our eyes. So the fact that I'm like, wow, what a great movie about a companion robot shows, I just think how well it's done. And I think a lot of people coming from different viewpoints would enjoy it. So that's my non-spoiler review of Companion. That's all I can say about it. I don't want to ruin anything about the movie. It hits theaters next Friday, January 31st, and I really think you should see it. I really do. Again, Megan, Scream, it's a great fit with those. All right, so share your thoughts down below, subscribe today, and of course, as always, you can check out some more videos right now.